Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
We have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty.
Now you get RFK Jr.
Don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again?
You get Tulsi Gabbard.
Putting our country in a continual state of war.
You get Elon Musk and you get J.D. Vance.
A hell of a way to start the next 4 years.
The right-wing Avengers.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
Department of Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength.
Shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one.
The rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
The golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
We are getting the dirt bags off these trees.
There's one guy who can fix this shit, and it's Donald Trump.
What's storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
You can run on for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Sooner or later gotta cut you down, sooner or later gotta cut you down. Go and tell that long-tongued liar, go and tell that midnight rider, tell the rambler, the gambler, the backbiter, tell him the God's gonna cut him down, tell him that God's gonna cut him down. Well, my goodness gracious, let me tell you the news. My head's been wet with the midnight dew. I've been down on bended knee, talking to the man from Galilee. He spoke to me in a voice so sweet, I thought I heard a shuffle of angels' feet. He called my name and my heart stood still when he said, John, go do my will. Go tell that long-tongued liar, go and tell that midnight rider, tell the rambler, the gambler, the backbiter, tell him that God's gonna cut him down, tell him that God's gonna cut him down. You can run on for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Sooner or later gotta cut you down, sooner or later gotta cut you down. Well, you may throw your rock and hide your hand, working in the dark against your fellow man, but as sure as God made black and white, what's done in the dark will be brought to the light. You can run on for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Sooner or later gotta cut you down, sooner or later gotta cut you down. Go tell that long-tongued liar, go and tell that midnight rider, tell the rambler, the gambler, the backbiter, tell him that God's gonna cut you down, tell him that God's gonna cut you down, tell him that God's gonna cut you down.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh. Welcome to the Red Pill Project's Daily Dose, live with you Monday through Friday. Hope everybody is doing well out there. And I saw a great, this is from the Rumble chat, LDW Patriot. My favorite podcaster is about to speak. Hey, Josh, thank you for sharing your lives with us. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And by the way, I'm watching you all. I am watching that Rumble chat. Soft disclosure. It makes sense if you listened last night. I hope everybody is having a great day. What is it? Wednesday? It's Wednesday, right? So Wednesday, next week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we'll have to figure out a show. I think I got some probably things that I can play on the channel. I might do some content. I'm going to be at DART in Cocoa Beach, Florida. I leave Wednesday afternoon. So there'll be no show Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night. But we'll try to figure it out. Maybe I'll do a show. Maybe a whole bunch of us will do a show. I don't know. Let me get there and figure that out. But I just want to give everybody a heads up before that. If you are interested to attend GART in Cocoa Beach, Florida, and if you are a Badlands fan, want to meet the rest of the Badlands Army and myself, go to Badlands Media, badlandsmedia.tv. I think that's right. Website. Hold on. Yeah, badlandsmedia.tv or badlandsmedia.com. And you can go to the event section and you can get a virtual ticket or you can get the actual in-person ticket where you'll be able to hang out with me for a little while. And I'm very social. Trust me. I'm out there. I'm talking to people and we have a good time. So if you're out there, hope to see you. That'd be awesome. If not, I hope to see you in the virtual event. If not, well, we'll see what we can do on the channel and get some content out there. This Friday is Halloween. I will be either going live early in the afternoon or recording for a later show. A good friend of mine, Terry Beatley, you guys know her, Save the Children, Jose Initiative, will be coming on with me, talking, and then I'll be covering the news and everything like that. So it'll either be recorded or live. I don't know yet, but if so, it's going to be earlier because it's Halloween. It's Halloween. I got 2 kids to take care of, and we got Halloween to do. So got that going on this week. Tomorrow night, live Q&A after this show. Thursday nights, live Q&A. How do you get in on that? Well, I'm glad you asked. All the information is somewhere in there. You can find it. Social Red Pill Q&A Thursday night. Any of our platforms that allow for subscriptions, whether that's Locals, whether that's X, Substack, or Social Red Pill, you can sign up on all of them. They all have various different benefits of being a member on those, but you'll all get into that live Q&A. And it's like $5 a month. So it's like buying me a coffee. On that also, there are ways to support us in this link and stuff like that. There's our sponsors. There's consultations that I do. There's all different types of things. So you can just see that scroll bar right there and you can jot it all down if you want to. Most of it is in the description box, so you can find that out there. But I'll leave that up for right now. Let me see. What are we thinking about today? So Donald Trump on his way to meet Xi Jinping in China. And he said today, very much looking forward to my meeting with President Xi of China. It will take place in a few hours, President DJT. And he said this on True Social. And yeah, there was a timestamp that went with this, which was checkmate. And okay, cool timestamp. I see relevance. There's contextual reference frame. But I actually liked when the White House published this. They put this up there and they said soon in all capital letters. And this reminds me of that Jeff Sessions Q post where you have Jeff Sessions just staring them down and it says soon, right? So that's what this reminds me of. This was at 2003 or 8:03. And sure enough, there's contextual reference frame for this timestamp when I jump over here and start look at it. And we go in here. Truth must be exposed. We need the people need it. How can we prevent in the future the shit we are going through now if truth, the whole truth, never comes to light? And so it's just anons going back and forth. And then February 11th, 2018 post is highlighted here. Ask yourself who is trying to start a war. Ask yourself if missile was launched by rogue actors, what would be the purpose? Ask yourself what would and should immediately start a war. Ask yourself what would the public understand the following statement. Rogue actors, clowns, U.S. former heads of state initiated a missile launch in order to force the U.S. into war conflict against X. This is so important and has massive contextual reference frame to what we are talking about right now. And then Q responds back, and this was about the Hawaii false flag attack, and it can even be incorporated with the Whidbey Island incident. I remember it, whoever called me out on that. We believe in full transparency, hence the reason why we are here, hence the reason why the people are being updated. Emphasis on some things, the world is connected, some things would irreparably harm our ability to advance. And so, 2 different points of reference. Trump is heading to China, or South Korea. He's going to be meeting with Xi Jinping. He's already in South Korea. He's going to be meeting with Xi Jinping. He asked to meet with Kim Jong-un, and Kim Jong-un basically ghosted him. He came out, covered face, and said, it just wasn't going to work out in the time frame. But Kim Jong-un, prior to Trump coming into South Korea, launched a ballistic missile and said, look what I can do. And then 2 days ago, we have a carrier strike group that is sitting over in the South China Sea, and we had a helicopter and a fighter jet both kind of crash within 30 minutes of each other. Now, the speculation on that, and trust me, I'm the one who was supporting hey, guys, they can hijack our ships. We talked about the USS Connecticut that ran into an underground mountain. We've talked about all the incidences. This one in particular, I want you to pay attention to because Donald Trump, I believe, is fully transparent on us. He said, it appears to be the fuel. Now, it's not uncommon to have bad fuel. And the idea that they were actually 30 minutes apart from each other kind of validates it because these things would have been fueling up prior to departure within the midst of that time frame. So if you had something happen in the fuel, water leaking in the fuel, whatever it might have been, this could have easily have contaminated that fuel line, or they were both refueled from the same fuel line, and other ones were not. It's a very strong indicator that this was a bad fuel line, something of that nature. So not thinking anything nefarious from those two incidences, but it is very coincidental. I don't know. I'm still skeptical, not 100% convinced. But I look at this post right here as in watch out for false flags, because right now Trump is going to meet with Xi Jinping. We know what's going on with the China and the CCP. We know that the CCP is one big animal. It's the last stake in the ground that the global cabal, the global elite have to make a difference in this world if they want to progress their agenda. We know that the CCP and the PLA has various corrupt factions that are trying to overthrow and coup Xi Jinping. And so Donald Trump, the White House posting this saying soon Trump's going to meet with Xi Jinping. And then this post correlating to this, it goes back to ask yourself who is trying to start a war. Right? Ask yourself what would and should immediately start a war. Ask yourself, would the public understand the following statement? Rogue actors, clowns, U.S. former heads of state initiated a missile launch in order to force the U.S. into a war conflict against China, right? That's the important part. This is what we have to understand, is that there are many different factions and forces around the world right now trying to instigate war with the United States, whether it's between Russia and Ukraine and the EU and NATO, whether it is in the Middle East with Israel and Iran, or whether it's in Southeast Asia and all the rhetoric going out there, China's going to invade Taiwan. You got to remember, Xi Jinping came out and gave Donald Trump his word. He says, we will not move on Taiwan while you're president. Xi Jinping gave him that word. And I don't think that Xi Jinping is going to go back on his word. China and the United States are the two most technologically advanced societies on this planet right now, militarily. Russia is a very, very close number 3. If you want to know who's leading, it's the United States. It is by far the United States. The reason we hear a lot more about the Chinese side is because China is communist. They have a quasi free market communist economic system. And so their technological development is in kind of applied in a commercial application. So it can get released much, much easier in the sense of how they get it off the production line and so forth. Now, the United States, we have these things in dark, clandestine, compartmentalized projects. We are far ahead of the game of China in technological advancement. Although we have technology, each of us, that is inferior and superior to each other. In other words, if China and the United States waged a war against each other, number one is it would be surface level kinetic. It would be Navy and Air Force. It would be ground troops and this type of thing. That wouldn't last very long because of the war of attrition. The United States controls the majority of the supply lines, controls the majority of the resources and energy primarily. China only has 100 days of energy supplies. So we would have to resort to some types of secret weapons, satellite, space-based weaponry, these types of things, where the U.S. is actually going to dominate over China. But China is advancing very, very quick. So it's definitely a concern out there to the U.S. military partners. Now, on top of that, when we start to look at that scenario actually becoming a reality, it's most likely never going to become a reality. And the reason it's not going to become a reality because it's mutually assured destruction. any way you want to look at it. It becomes mutually assured destruction. The level of technological advancement that these two countries have, we're talking about anti-gravitics. We're talking about drones that fly themselves with quantumly entangled satellites as command and control centers organized through AI. We're talking about self-replicating AI computer viruses that can infiltrate and take down entire systems. We're talking about directed energy weapons that are built on artificial intelligence platforms that are backed up through quantum networking. I mean, this is the type of stuff we're talking about, where if this type of war did break out, it's mutually assured destruction. With that being said, these two countries will wage economic warfare with each other, and social and cultural warfare, and even clandestine warfare, and infiltration and proxy wars before they ever go into kinetic conflict, because they know that if they go into kinetic conflict, the goals that they're trying to obtain through their agendas, and this is the United States and China, the goals they're trying to obtain through their agendas will be all lost through kinetic warfare. That's kind of the idea of mutually assured destruction. And Russia doesn't even have a piece in the game. Russia's just trying to play either side and see which one it's going to benefit from the most. But Russia understands, in the context of Western nations, that if they side with the United States of America, they're always going to come out on top until the next president comes in, neocon, that aligns with the globalists and then hammers Russia. In the sense of China, Russia understands that China is their friend now, but tomorrow, after the United States is defeated, China is going to be their biggest enemy, because that's how it works. And then they're going to be completely screwed. So Russia has to play this game very, very carefully. I believe that there is a sovereign alliance that many of these nations of the world and the leaders of the world, not necessarily the nations, but the leaders of the world, are aligned towards a multipolar fronted, sovereign, nationalistic world. And that's what they're moving to. And they're dismantling the global tyrannical cabal, the international criminal syndicate, whatever you want to call it. They're dismantling it financially. They're dismantling it, the constructs embedded within deep tech. They are removing the threat actors that are existent within governance and intelligence agencies, within NGOs and corporations. And then at the bottom level, they are eliminating the connections to their mercenary armies. These are gangs and cartels. These are sleeper agents. This is exactly what we've seen over the last 10 months. And it's ran pretty damn well through the Trump administration, to the point that where we've had no major false flags that have risen up that have instigated World War III or produced a massive black swan type of event where action has to be declared because it's the will of the people, which is what these guys are trying to do in the sense of the globalists. Donald Trump went on a posting frenzy today on Truth Social, and he posted this beautiful gem right there. Donald Trump giving the hand salute, and right on his neck, the Q+ with "the best is yet to come." All right. And so, that's them telling us, hey, we hear you. All right. General Flynn today reposted Benny. And he said today, massive appreciation for DNI Gabbard has accomplished, exposing numerous communist elements inside and outside our government. My guess is that there's more to come. In other words, there's more to come. Now, interesting enough, he says inside and outside our government. I love that. Now, we can break this post down. If you take the timestamp of this post, 6:55 a.m., it goes to what happened at the hotel, Standard Hotel. Adam Schiff. What is Adam Schiff attempting right now? Favor repaid. Okay, that's interesting. Why is that interesting? It's because Donald Trump posted this video a few hours prior to Flynn posting that. Now, when Flynn posted the other day and it said, "Did you see the exchange?" This is what I'm talking about. Donald Trump post, Flynn post. And it's usually Donald Trump's last post and Flynn's first post is correlative nature that's going on, correlating to various different keyboard posts. That's the exchange that I'm seeing. Trump posted this video about 6 hours earlier.
And instead of preventing partisan weaponization, your department has engaged in a brazenly political prosecution at the president's explicit direction. The department has become President Trump's personal sword and shield to go after his ever-growing list of political enemies and to protect himself, his allies, and associates.
I have to say, I am struck by the degree of the cognitive dissonance that I hear on the other side. It really is. I mean, I'm used to sort of the political debates and arguing in court and all those sorts of things. But to hear the other side of the dais talk about weaponization is truly shocking, given what we know now. And I thought what I might do is just tell a story. And these are 100% facts. Hillary Clinton, concerned about her email scandal, works with a Soros organization to cook up this Russiagate nonsense. They feed it to the intelligence agencies. And they spy, under Barack Obama's presidency, they spy on the political opponent, the Republican, running against Hillary Clinton. He gets elected. They continue the operation. And they launder this intelligence into stuff that was meant to, by the FBI and the CIA, to sideline a presidency of a duly elected president of the United States of America, to sideline him. And that continued. You heard even some people on this committee further that nonsense for 4 years. And then the FBI is involved with pre-bunking the Hunter Biden laptop story because they didn't want him to get elected again. So they pre-bunked the Hunter Biden laptop story. The American people should have been allowed to make their own judgments from that. They weren't, because the FBI called it a Russian hack and leak operation. They were meeting with social media companies every month and every week, telling them that the laptop that they knew, that they had verified in November of 2019, they knew was real and knew was his, said it was Russian disinformation. We've heard that before. And then, after Joe Biden comes in, 3 days in, they start a censorship campaign against the country, anybody who's a conservative. And now we also know that the FBI was weaponized in this Arctic frost investigation that tapped the phones of sitting U.S. senators. And also, the Republican Attorneys General Association, so let's pull in 2 more U.S. senators, Ashley Moody and myself, who were on the executive committee at that time. Charlie Kirk, political organizations they didn't agree with. This is not in the Soviet Union in the 1980s. This is in the United States of America in the last few years. And then, when they thought President Trump was on the run and there's no way people would elect him, and then he announces he's running for president, 3 days later, Jack Smith's appointed to get Trump. Fani Willis brings charges against President Trump, and the assistant prosecutor meets with the White House counsel's office. Why would that happen? Then you have Alvin Bragg bring his charges. The number 3 person at DOJ goes to work for him to get Trump. All in the United States of America. This continued. And Senator Hawley asked the question, wrote it down, what is happening in this country? And I hope that MSNBC is still broadcasting this, because I'm sure their viewership hasn't heard this story that's gone on for 10 years. The truth is, they never forgave President Trump for coming down the escalator at all. They didn't like him. They didn't like the disruption.
Spot on, Senator Schmidt. And so that correlates directly there to Adam Schiff, a response to Adam Schiff. And so James Wood, on that post that was reposted by Donald Trump, said, "This whole video is pure gold. Adam Schiff clinging to the last shreds of the Democrat conspiracy that has backfired horribly." Eric Schmidt then points out Schiff's biggest nightmare: there is no statute of limitations on conspiracy. Schiff may as well be done. And then that goes to Flynn's post. Much appreciation for DNI Gabbard has accomplished exposing numerous communist elements inside and outside of government. So you got to love it. Connect the dots on that one. Adam Schiff, the day is coming. Now, this is interesting. So I didn't get bamboozled today, but there was something that happened today, and I had an article sent to me, and I checked it out. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Is it something I think would happen? Yeah, it is something I think would happen. But so there was an article that came out, and apparently it came out in the New York Times. I saw the Daily Mail version of it. But it was the FBI Director Kash Patel reportedly confronted counterterrorism chief Joe Kent after Kent reviewed FBI files to probe possible foreign ties to Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I went out there, breaking news, and I posted the article. Well, I deleted the post after like 9,000 views. I deleted the post. Why did I delete the post? Well, I saw some people commenting, and I'm like, hold on, I didn't know this was a New York Times article. So I deleted the post. Do I believe this is what happened? Actually, not at all. Did it sound convincing? It did. But that is how propaganda works. The original post claimed by the New York Times said that it came from anonymous sources close to Joe Kent. Okay. The Daily Mail failed to mention this and wrote the article as a legitimate piece. And so I want to show you this. So in the New York Times article, it says the people interviewed by the Times were granted anonymity to speak frankly about the internal dynamics of the Trump administration. That was the New York Times article I did not see. The Daily Mail article said the Times spoke with supporters of Kent who claimed he was doing his job by chasing down the leads to ensure no foreign groups were involved in Kirk's death. Completely different. So when you're reading the Daily Mail version, you realize that it doesn't say anything about anonymous or anonymity to the sources. And it actually is very well written in the context like they're asking Joe Kent himself. But you have to understand this is a foreign news periodical, and this is what you're going to get. So the original post claimed the New York Times said it's from anonymous sources. The Daily Mail failed to mention this and wrote the article as a legitimate piece, making only a slight reference to the Times sources. After looking at both articles, you can clearly see this is a propaganda piece. A clear indicator is a claim of how they say Joe Kent accessed the information. Quote the articles. Kent told the administration officials that he was granted access to FBI files by a low-ranking agency official. That is your key sign. Something's going on here. Kent would have not have needed to go through low-ranking agents to obtain this information. He would have been privy to it by his position directly. Now, special assistants to Joe Kent and the FBI have all came out and said this is nonsense. What do I think happened? This is what I think happened. How do you eliminate leakers? It goes back to the Trump presidency, something that we've outlined multiple different times. Is you tell 5 people 5 different things and you wait for that to reach the news media. And when you see one of those stories come up, you know who your leaker is. That's what happened right here. I think that that's exactly what happened right here. So it's a propaganda piece, absolutely. We're going to actually talk about another piece of propaganda here in a minute that I actually called out, but was quasi-legitimate, but not. So we're going to look at that here in a few minutes. But before we do that, let's get into what we're seeing happen. Number one is Donald Trump actually just posted a minute ago. And I wanted to bring this up real quick. True Social. All right. Block you. I don't want you there. Number one is he said the G2 will be convening shortly. I love it. As in him and Xi Jinping will be meeting here in a few minutes. The G2. But G2 is also what? GG. GG, or 7 times 2, is 14. I just got to throw that out there. Then, I didn't look at the timestamp on this one, by the way. But I don't think the timestamp is significant. Maybe it is. Because there's another timestamp that came right before this. Yep, timestamp is not necessarily. Oh, maybe it is. So, I mean, you got the G2 reference here. So, two Gs is 14. And then post 2108, which is GOTO's, is military intelligence team, military intelligence battalion. It talks about military intelligence, but it's also talking about the Rothschilds. Don't think so much about that. But actually, the post that I wanted to look at was this one. The United States has more nuclear weapons than any other country. This was accomplished, including a complete update and renovation of existing weapons during my first term in office because of the tremendous destructive power. I hated to do it, but had no choice. Russia is second, and China is a distant third, but will be even within 5 years. Because of other countries' testing programs, I have instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. That process will begin immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Now, he posts this minutes before he goes in to talk with Xi Jinping. That is not a coincidence at all. Now, the interesting thing is he posts this at, what this one is at 9:04. So let me see here. I thought I had it up here. Weird. So this is crazy. It was 9:05 on my phone when that was posted. Now it's 9:04. Anyways, I find this really interesting strategically just because of what Donald Trump is going into. Right now, he is walking into a meeting with Xi Jinping. He posts this, basically talking China is a distant third. G2 is about to meet here, and we're going to begin testing nuclear weapons once again. In other words, he's flexing his muscles. He authorized over the last day military exercises in the South China Sea and various other contested areas. So he is going in full force against the PLA, not necessarily against Xi Jinping, but against the PLA. So what do I think is going to happen out of this? I think that there's going to be a trade negotiation. There's going to be smiles. There's going to be handshakes. I think that everything's going to be good until it's not. You have to understand that the CCP and the PLA is an enormous monster that's heavily infiltrated. And they're going to do everything to undermine Xi Jinping and Donald Trump. But what is going to happen today, I think it's going to be good news, and the markets are going to probably blow up tomorrow and do a lot of good. Not a big deal. So, and we also saw this on the hinge of like economic news. China actually came in, purchases 180,000 tons of U.S. soybeans in their first order in months as a show of good faith ahead of the meeting between Trump and Xi Jinping. That's actually pretty strategic. So China goes in buying 180,000 tons of soybeans. Donald Trump goes in posting that I'm going to start testing nuclear missiles. You see the kind of the unspoken rhetoric that's going on between the two. China's capitulating, acquiescing once again, because they know in the context of economic warfare, they're going to lose against Donald Trump, specifically with what Trump has done in the Middle East, with his new deals with Malaysia and Indonesia, with his deals with Japan. He's got China surrounded militarily, defense funding going to all of those countries, but also rare earth minerals and metals coming out of those countries, which reduces U.S. dependency on China for various different resources. So Donald Trump is heading into this meeting with Xi Jinping with the upper hand. So China, in essence, has to capitulate. Now, this is pretty interesting. You're going to love this. Do you remember back in 2024 when Donald Trump was just running for president? And I started talking about, hey, we're getting word that Barack Obama is working to coup Joe Biden, to remove Joe Biden after his failed attempt at a debate with Donald Trump. And the objective is to have an open DNC, an open conference, and that Hillary Clinton and Michelle Obama would then run, or Gavin Newsom. But what happened is that Joe Biden was the first person to call Donald Trump after Butler. And they were talking as if they were buddies. Remember from RFK's leaked phone call when he was on the call, when he was being recorded and he was on the call with Trump, and they talked about the phone call and how Donald Trump was telling him that, you know, Joe Biden called me. This is crazy. Joe Biden. And we were talking like we were best friends. In other words, Joe Biden made a deal with Donald Trump. And I think we're seeing the remnants of that right now with Joe Biden and dementia and basically cleared of everything due to mental illness. But one of the things I said is that the objective was to coup Obama, to ensure that Obama couldn't make that one critical clutch decision at the DNC. And so what happened is Jill Biden and Joe Biden's chief of staff endorsed Kamala Harris in Joe Biden's auto pen name. And then Nancy Pelosi was forced to comply with this. Listen to this. This is awesome. This is confirmation of exactly what I was saying was happening in the backdrop.
Hear about the secret meeting? Pelosi snuck into the White House just to see the auto pen.
She goes to have a secret meeting with Joe Biden in the White House. As the meeting concludes, and, you know, Pelosi's not telling him directly to get out, right, but reiterating the message that she said to Jonathan, that these two devout Catholics take out their rosaries and they say a prayer together. And Pelosi leaves. It is the last time that they had any meaningful exchange of words.
This is a new scoop about the coup. Nancy was literally praying that Biden would bow out. But not everybody was on board, including the hubby, Paulie P.
Pelosi talks to her husband, Paul Pelosi, and Paul answers the phone by saying, Kamala? No. You did what? What? Kamala?
Paulie P. knew Mamala was a bad investment. Barack, too. He called Nancy and was dropping F-bombs when Nance endorsed Harris behind his back.
You report that Barack Obama called her basically asking, what the F did you just do?
Obama says is basically, what Nancy, what was that all about? And clearly irritated. No, she was pissed off. She was angry. He was angry. The clear message was, why did you do that?
Inside Biden world, everyone knew the truth. There's only one Messiah. Quote, at least one Biden official believed that Obama didn't believe the then VP could win. There's only one Black Jesus. While the old guard sharpened their knives, the cover-up got unraveled before our eyes. Comer's now got receipts, 100 pages deep. It's titled, The Biden Auto Pen Presidency. The reports on Bondi's death.
Okay. I thought that was kind of cool. A confirmation of a story that we did a while back. And it's a big one. Because that was the turning tide moment, that when Joe Biden came out and endorsed Kamala Harris, that's what won Donald Trump the election. That's what won Donald Trump the election. If he had to go against Hillary Clinton and Michelle Obama or Gavin Newsom and Hillary Clinton, they would have been able to probably steal it in some way, shape, or form. They could have found enough votes to steal to do it. But since it was Kamala, it was over. It was done with. And Obama knew this. Excuse me. All right. One quick ad we got to pay, or one quick bill we got to pay. Let's be clear, cryptocurrency is no longer emerging. It's here, and the latest move cements that reality in the biggest way yet. Trump Media Group is just inked a massive $6.4 billion deal with Crypto.com, the world's top crypto platform. They're teaming up to scoop up $6.4 billion in CRO, the powerhouse token that fuels fast, low-fee DeFi, staking rewards, and real-world perks like cashback on your spends to launch America's first CRO treasury. When it's done, this new company will be the biggest CRO holder out there. Want in on the action? Head to Crypto.com today and grab some CRO. Let's make crypto great again. And yes, great stuff right there. I love crypto. Crypto's amazing. And there is ways to, if you ever wanted to help us out with crypto, there's definitely ways there. Redpills.tv/send crypto. Pretty easy to remember there. All right. What do we got next? What's Josh going to talk about next? Oh, excuse me. More indications that this analysis that Maduro and Brazil and Colombia are potentially working against the cartels. Today, Venezuela destroyed 2 Colombian narco camps on its territory. Now, this could be that Venezuela is eliminating its competition. No, they're eliminating the cartels that are existent throughout Venezuela. It's almost as if the Trump administration's presence there and what they are doing in and around that whole area, with clandestine operations, special forces groups going out there dismantling a lot of this infrastructure, has given the ability for these governments, Venezuela and Brazil, to begin fighting back against the cartels. And we're actually seeing this in Mexico as well. So it's another indication that there's something bigger going on than meets the eye. I can tell you straight up that these cartels are nothing more than mercenary armies, formed armies for the criminal complicity of the international criminal cartel organization syndicate, that this is their ground force and troops, and this is why they're being dismantled right now. Senate Leader John Thune this week went berserk on Democrats. Now, this is important. Let's listen to this.
Let me just point out, if I might, that we are 29 days into a Democrat shutdown. And the senator from New Mexico was absolutely right. SNAP recipients shouldn't go without food. People should be getting paid in this country. And we've tried to do that 13 times. And you voted no 13 times. This isn't a political game. These are real people's lives that we're talking about. And you all have just figured out, 29 days in, that, oh, there might be some consequences. There are people who run out of money. Yeah, we're 29 days in. And they've done their best to make sure that a lot of these programs are funded. But at some point, the government runs out of money. 13 times people over here voted to fund SNAP. 13 times they voted to fund WIC. My aching back.
So the Democrats obviously voted against this once again. Now, here's the big fuck you to the left. And Speaker Mike Johnson actually says this perfectly today. Let me pull up this clip because he's absolutely right with this. And I want the left to hear it. I want the left to know that this is the case.
Of the American people. They had a rally a couple weeks ago. They tried to portray President Trump as a king. And we pointed out, again, the obvious truth. If the president was a king, then the government would be open. He's been trying to do that.
If the president was a king, the government would be open. How true? Kind of the antithesis of what they're trying to progress out there. But see, there's a lot more happening right now. And we talked about the SNAP and what's going on with that. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be repercussions for that. Now, the Democrats tried to pass a small resolution today to just get WIC and SNAP passed. And the Republicans actually said no. The reason being is because we know that 42 million recipients of this are illegal immigrants. And I'm pretty sure that when the bill comes out for the Republicans to vote on, it's going to remove a lot of that sustenance to these people. And good. Get them out of our country, period. Eric Schmidt again. And this is the 2020 election interference and everything that we've seen.
Judge Boasberg gave a speech about how he was going to thwart the Trump agenda before he got those cases. He was not the assignment judge. The D.C. courts have a daily assignment judge. He wasn't the assignment judge. He's on vacation. Somehow gets these cases at 1 a.m. Was he tipped off? Did somebody tell him these cases against President Trump and his agenda now were coming? I don't know. We should find that out. But Judge Boasberg, what he did to Senator Cruz and maybe other senators, absolutely, and I don't say this lightly, absolutely is worthy of impeachment proceedings. There has to be accountability. The American people have heard a lot about this, and you're going to hear more. We should have Watergate-style hearings on this for months. If we're ever going to root this out, we have to be serious about it, and consequences have to follow. Resignations, firings, criminal prosecutions. You simply can't, in this country, use the justice system to throw people in jail because they have a red jersey on. Or a blue jersey on.
Boom. I like Eric Schmidt. He's a good dude. So, and by the way, you know what's cool about Eric Schmidt? Is he follows me on X. I think that's pretty cool. House Oversight Committee. Ian Sams, one of Joe Biden's spokespersons, met with him only twice in over 2 years. Then he would go on live television and say he interacted with him every single day. He was lying to the American people to cover up Biden's cognitive decline. And this is many as such more that we're seeing come about. During that time, they had the auto pen, which was initiating orders. Now, the auto pen is truthful. You have to understand that. But you remember when I told you Joe Biden made a deal with Donald Trump? The auto pen is being kind of overexploited. The reason being is because they are delineating the blame on Joe Biden. They're moving the blame away from Joe Biden and to deep state actors, Obama. So what you're going to find out behind the auto pen was Barack Obama. So initially designed by the Biden era architects to target President Trump, the indiscriminate Arctic frost investigation exploded to include over 430 Republican organizations and individuals. Huge. I mean, it was It was FISA-gate times 1,000. They were spying on us. Lots of podcasters. No one was safe under the Biden FBI. Over 430 plus entities and individuals were targeted as part of Arctic Frost, including CBS News, Fox News, Newsmax, Stephen Miller, Dan Scavino, Jared Kushner, Laura Trump, members of Congress, GOP donors, fundraisers, campaign strategists, podcasters, and many, many more. Now, this is the same administration that went in and tried to censor you, who had massive corruption to go out there and censor you. And I think I had a post on that somewhere. There it is. Yeah. And you want to know that it was Barack Obama. Yeah, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Obama-linked Stanford Center held secret global censorship meetings. 2022, Obama gave a speech at Stanford Cyber Policy Center advocating sweeping censorship of the internet. Now, public has discovered that the same center last month hosted a secret meeting with officials from the EU, UK, Brazil, Australia to plan global censorship, including of the US. Now, what's interesting about this is we're talking about members of the Five Eyes. Interesting. Now, secret meetings with officials from the EU, UK, Brazil, and Australia. You remember the videos going around of Barack Obama visiting the prime minister of the UK, going to the UK and having meetings? Now you're starting to understand why, what they're trying to do, including the United States. The revelation connects Obama's previous call for online control to new international efforts discussed behind closed doors. So the same mechanisms that censored us under the Biden administration are now trying to censor us once again through various countries' actions. Now, nothing I love more than watching people get shut up that are propagators of one country over another. Listen to this.
No. Hang on a second. If Netanyahu and if the Israeli government had dealt straight with us, you wouldn't have had this problem. They're liars. They've been stone cold liars. They gave bad information. So I'm not going to let that go unchallenged. That's just bullshit. Okay.
Well, people need to just start talking about the Islamification more. They need to talk about Islam more.
By the way, I've been the tip of the spear on the Muslim Brotherhood forever. And you're seeing a huge pushback on this. We can do it if we unite. We definitely should have the Muslim Brotherhood designated a terrorist organization, and that will change everything. But don't sit there all innocent about what Netanyahu's Netanyahu's government has been atrocious, and we should have regime change in Jerusalem, and we should have it immediately. They've lied to the American government. They've lied to the American people consistently.
Who are we uniting with, though, to designate the Muslim Brotherhood?
We can unite with many elements of I just want to spend 4 days in Texas. The people in Texas are prepared now to step up and take a hard stand against the Islamification of Texas.
Right.
They're out there. But you got to reach out to people. You got to work with them.
How come Marco Rubio hasn't designated the Muslim Brotherhood? We're 9 months into the administration. Steve, you told me yourself, you pushed so hard for the Muslim Brotherhood to be designated during the first term, and you said that they tried to bite your head off for it. You said that the one thing that you received the most...
So, Laura Loomer makes a great point. Steve Bannon makes a great point. Number one, shut up about Israel. They're not our friend. They're lying to us. Laura Loomer doesn't have any comment on that. But then Laura Loomer pushes back on Steve Bannon and says, well, what about the Muslim Brotherhood? And Steve Bannon's like, I tried, and nobody's moving on it. Why is the Trump administration not moving on the Muslim Brotherhood? Do you know why? $14 trillion worth of investment capital is flowing into the United States of America from Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia. Deep ingrained connections to the Muslim Brotherhood. In other words, they kind of control a lot of what happens in that side of the world and in that context of the world. Keep your enemies close, or keep your friends close, but your enemies closer is definitely one of the strategies of Donald Trump here. But on the other side of the ticket is that when you have mutual investment opportunities, you're kind of negating the aggressive nature of your enemy. So think about it in the same sense of China. when you and China have a certain point of mutually assured destruction with your nuclear arsenal or your advanced weapons, you know that kinetic war is most likely never going to happen. So the only type of war that's going to come about is cultural, social, or economic, or proxy. So Trump wages war on China economically. China tries to do it back to the United States, but the United States is just a behemoth. They can't survive, so they have to capitulate. This is what Donald Trump is doing to control the Middle East. This is exactly what he's trying to do. See, here's the thing, is the Middle Eastern countries, they're going to utilize their energy superiority to basically push other nations into a target zone of their politics, of their social and cultural migrations or ambitions. Well, they can't do that with the United States of America when the United States of America is the #1 producer of oil and exporter of oil in the world. And when it comes down to it, the United States has massive economic power over the Middle East and military power over the Middle East. I mean, literally, our military bases in the Middle East are in Saudi Arabia. They're in Qatar. So think about it as checkmate. Now, does that mean that the Muslim Brotherhood isn't going to go rogue and branch off? No, it absolutely will. But I think there's going to be a time and a place for when those elements actually occur, and the DOJ comes out here and issues a memorandum declaring the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization. I actually think that that's coming up fairly fast here, because aboard Air Force One, President Trump called for Ilham Omar to be exiled from Congress. Did you hear this? Now, Ilham Omar is more associated with like Kair and these other groups, not necessarily the Muslim Brotherhood. But listen to Trump here.
I think she should be impeached. I think she's terrible. Is she originally from Somalia? So how are they doing this? How's their government? Do they have a president? Do they have a council? Do they have anything? Do they have police? I love these people that come from a place with nothing, no anything. And then they tell us how to run our country.
See, Trump's got a point here. Ilham Omar needs to be impeached. And the same thing with Mahandi in New York City. What you're going to find out is that the DOJ has opened up files on these people, and that their green cards, by the way, is a revocable status. When you become a naturalized citizen, the United States reserves the right to revoke that status. And if they find that you came to this country on false pretenses, like marrying your brother to get citizenship, they're going to revoke your status. And I think that that's what we're going to actually see happening over the course of the next few months. That some of these candidates, or some of these people like Rashid and Ilham Omar and Mayandi and all these people are going to be ejected from this country. That is like the next stage of Tom Homan and ICE. And not only that, is you're going to find a lot of these communities broken up. It goes back to what we talked about yesterday, specifically with Muhammad's 3 points, right? Muhammad's 3 points: immigrate, increase, eliminate. And see, the Trump administration knows this, the DOJ knows this, DHS knows this, and they know what these people are doing. And so what we're going to see is a dismantling of their systems and networks, and then an elimination of those systems and networks from our country. And I think that that is the next stage after the gangs and the cartels are actually moved out. And I think it's going to be absolutely epic, because we're going to see people like Ilham Omar kicked out of this country. Now, Elon Musk came out today and said civil war in Britain is inevitable. It's just a question of when. Now, why is that? Well, go back to the same Mohammed's 3 steps of infiltration: immigrate, increase, eliminate. Well, guess what? In Britain, they're at that eliminate part. In London, they're at that eliminate part. So the people are about to push back. It's going to come. And the government is just getting more and more tyrannical. Now, is this planned or staged? I don't think it's planned or staged. I think it's expected. But the question is who's going to come out on top? Now, that pertains to a few different things that we talked about last week. One of them was this document out there that was circulating. And I call this document fake. Tons of red flags, no legal authority. So let me pull up the document right here. This was posted by Anthony Cabasa. He posted these with his name all printed over it. And I went 10-point strategy of why this was fake. Well, guess what? It's fake. Not only is it fake, The real documents actually were released today. And even though the headlines are almost exactly the same, revealed Pentagon orders states' National Guards to form quick reaction forces for crowd control. Pentagon memo details plan to train over 20,000 National Guard members across the U.S. to carry out Trump's orders on subduing civil unrest. We've known this is true. I literally wrote about it in my Substack 3 different times over the last 2 months, outline the whole legal format of how this happens. But the documents that they have here are radically different. Even though they're formatted the same way, the documents that dude was posting, they make it appear that the documents are stating that this is a new thing, that the Trump administration is taking authority that they don't have to do something. This is basically utilizing existing authority, stating that, hey, we know the National Guard and the Marine Corps already have these units, and we need to get people trained up on these units. People who are not trained or have lapsed training, they need to get readied up, and then we need to increase the number of people per these units. That's what this says. It's not the creation of anything new. It's just, hey, start your training because this is a possibility for the near future, which is completely different than this dude's document. So I wanted to point that out because I believe that this was leaked to this guy. These documents was leaked to this guy. Not that he was a bad guy or anything, but because it was meant to create the predicate for the release of these documents when it actually came out, but then showing that there's misaligned authority through the Department of War to do this, of which the actual documents that released have all the proper authorities in there. And it's basically Secretary of War is ordering the state National Guard to do it, not the Secretary of War doing it through the states. Big difference in that. What else do we got here? General Flynn, unless real Donald Trump decides to use national security related authorities. This is so important. This goes right back to Q14 right here. Unless Donald Trump decides to use national security related authorities for the purpose of preserving the Constitution, a sworn duty of his as POTUS, America is in very serious trouble. I do not see the DOJ moving on any of these. Pam Bondi. And this was posted at, it looks like 9:50 or 21:50 p.m. I thought I had that one pulled up. Let me see if I can find that real quick and see what this one says. Because I guarantee you, oh, there's one. CIA. That's definitely not it. Let me see if there's a post that correlates to this one. Nope, not necessarily a timestamp and correlation. But I think that this is communications between Trump and Flynn. That there's not direct communications, but Flynn is telling Trump, hey, you have national security related authorities that can actually do this around the DOJ without having to wait it. Let's get it going. Now, why is this so important? Well, listen to what Glenn Beck says today, because I think that everybody's seeing the light here. When we start to see these executive orders come out, when we start to see the revamping of the irregular warfare bill, we start to see authorized use of military force doctrines get an updated declaration of terrorist organizations for Antifa and stuff like this. The National Guard putting on ready status in the sense of their riot task force groups. We know something's coming. So Glenn Beck here, liberal podcaster Jennifer Welch, says Democrats need to embrace the violent rhetoric in their party. Listen to this. And this is one whose face has been planted all over the left wing, saying that she is the new determiner of who's going to win the next election.
The liberal podcaster from the podcast I've Had It, which sounds happy. The podcast host is Jennifer Welch, and she started with playing a clip from the No Kings rally of a woman supporting the murder of Charlie Kirk. Listen to this. Cut one.
Him is horrible. Horrible.
Charlie Kirk is horrible?
Yes, I'm glad he's not here.
You're glad he's dead?
Yes.
Why would you say something like that, man?
Because he was horrible on the campuses, the college campuses.
Good argument.
So listen up, Democratic establishment. You can either jump on board with this or we're coming after you in the same way that we come after MAGA. Period. Stop missing out on these big rallies. Hakeem and Chuck should have been front and center introducing the next mayor of New York City, but no, they wouldn't show up because they're that are beholden to the same corporations that helped Donald Trump get elected. And
does this not sound
is
like
just an embarrassment. Kudos to Bernie, to AOC, to Zoran. And that woman out in somewhere middle America saying, Charlie Kirk, he was a racist, he was a piece of shit. There are so many more of us than there are of them. And these Democrats that continue to play patty cake with corporations and lobbyists, nobody wants that. Nobody wants you.
Does this not sound like something I said was coming like 2010?
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, it's going to happen. I think I started saying this.
In other words, they are getting ready for a violent revolution. The Podesta plan is in play because they're about to lose everything. I'm actually going back to Flynn's post here. He says, unless Donald Trump decides to use the national security-related authorities for the purpose of preserving the Constitution, a sworn duty of his as POTUS, America is in very serious trouble. Now, I said there was no timestamp on this. This is 2150, actually. 2150, we'll never forget, we'll never forgive Patriot Day. And this is about September 11th and the tribute to September 11th and presidential actions and the proclamation day of POTUS. So the reason why that's important, he's saying, at least from my perspective, is number one, there's post 9/11 executive actions that can be taken, national security executive actions that can be taken that can basically nip all of this in the butt right now. And he's talking more specifically about the arrest of the deep state because they are the ones instigating this, just like that podcaster, promoting more and more violence out there, which we don't want violence. We don't want anything to do with violence, but these people do. And they're trying to promulgate the Podesta plan. If you know the movie Civil War, if you haven't watched it yet, I would highly recommend going and watching the movie Civil War. A24 Studios, Barack Obama, John Podesta put this out as a national exercise in 2022 under the Biden administration. What happens if there was a civil war, left versus right in this country? What would it look like? Gavin Newsom has been quoted talking about it on the Stephen Colbert show. This is what they're moving for. This is where their rhetoric is changing and transitioning. This is the radicalization of the entire Democrat establishment. This is where they are pushing their people. This is why the Trump administration is showing you blue sky. Get on blue sky. Go out there and get on blue sky because they want to save as many of these people as possible from getting radicalized with as much truth as we can get into them. So buckle up, Buttercup. Things are about to get crazy because this is the global chess game that we're watching unfold. In economic news, OpenAI prepares for an IPO at $1 trillion valuations, according to Reuters. If you're able to get into that IPO, do it. South Korea agrees to buy U.S. oil and gas in vast quantities, over $600 billion. That's huge. We talked about China, 180,000 tons of U.S. soybeans, huge again. The Fed came out with a decision today. Pretty interesting here. Fed cuts rates by 25 basis points in the second rate cut of 2025. Fed member Moran dissented in favor of a 50 BPS cut. Fed member Schmidt dissented in favor of no rate cut. Feds will say it will stop shrinking its balance sheet on December 1st, which is quantitative tightening. So they will stop quantitative tightening. In other words, Chairman Powell has capitulated to Donald Trump. That's what I get out of this. Now, this could be because of something else. Who knows? It could be because they're planning an economic shitstorm. Who knows, right? They want the economy to get up. They want it to boom because they know that they're going to promulgate civil war here in the near future. Very good possibility. But I think that no matter what happens, that Donald Trump is just going to come out on top of it. All right, let's do this one right here. Looking for smarter ways to browse and enjoy your favorite content without ads? Get the Perplexity Pro bundle with Rumble Premium for just $19.99 a month when you sign up before December 31st, normally a $29.99 value. With Rumble Premium, you'll get an ad-free viewing experience across all your devices and access to exclusive premium content, no interruptions, just the videos and streams you love anytime, anywhere. Plus, Perplexity Pro boosts your productivity with unlimited research, unlimited uploads, exclusive member perks, and access to the latest and most advanced AI models for faster, smarter answers every day. Save over 30% on this powerful bundle. Head to rumble.com/premium before December 31st to sign up and unlock your premium experience. And just a note on that one, because we talked about Rumble Premium there, is that Alpha and I are going to be teaming up for another show together. I believe that this is going to be a YouTube and Rumble Premium show only. So just keep that in mind. And there's reasons behind that. You'll know when you start to see the show of why that is. But I just wanted to put that out there to everybody. Guys, I'll be back with you tomorrow night. We have our live Q&A tomorrow. All of our links are scrolling below, so if you need any of them, you can just go ahead and slow down this feed. Don't forget live Q&A tomorrow night, so you can subscribe to any of the platforms that you're on right now, and that will get you in there. If you want to help donate to the Red Pill Project, we're trying to raise some money right now, trying to renovate the studio a little bit, get some new backdrops in here, some new studio equipment that we need. So if you're interested in that, that's Give, Send, Go. So you can go to redpills.tv/go, 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 and you can help us reach our goals to renovate our new studio. And I got a lot of travel coming up here, and so it does help. So much appreciated on that. Was going to leave you with a song today. Obviously, I'm going to leave you with the outro song. I'm going to have some new songs to play here on the way out coming up shortly, but I think you guys do enjoy this one. Much love, respect. God bless. Take care. Have a great night. Hope you guys have an awesome evening. I will see you tomorrow. Take care.
There was a time when our children stood tall, hand on their hearts, one voice for all. There was a time when honor had weight, when the flag was a symbol, not a debate. There was a time when our history was known, with pride in the rules that made us our own. There was a time, respect for the brave, for those who bled, for the lives they gave. Now the homeland burns in silent war. Truth is twisted, we can't ignore. Voice still calls, we the people will not fall. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil under, patriots rise. We are one, land of the free, home of the brave. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time when truth was clear, when the media served, not ruled by fear. There was a time when leaders stood fast, guarding the people, defending the past. Now corruption wears a crown, lies are fed to tear us down. But Q said watch, and Q said see. The silent war will set us free. From the front lines, soldiers stare, wondering Their blood, their hope, their sacrifice will not be sold for a last prize. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, the veil undone. Patriots rise, we are one. Land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on. Or we will spend our sunset years telling our children what it was once like in the United States where men were free.
There was a time, time is near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil undone. Patriots rise, we are one. Land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time. There was a time. Now is the time. Do it.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation. I want you to get mad.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
These people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!